kasarinlan ang tanging adhika. Buhay aalay sa pag-asang dalisay. Adios, umahong malaya.
I, being a Filipina by birth and upbringing, Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Realonda was already known to me as the Philippines' national hero. Dr. Jose Rizal was an author whose works focus on individual liberties and rights. Today, we will talk about one of his famous novels, which is the Noli Me Tangere. Authors and writers are known to be inspired by other writers' works. As for Dr. Jose Rizal, he was inspired by Harriet Beecher's novel, which is called The Uncle Tom's Cabin. The Uncle Tom's Cabin was published in the year 1852. It is an anti-slavery novel which portrays the brutalities of American slave owners and the pathetic conditions of the unfortunate Negro slaves. It is one of the most popular novels in the 19th century and the second world best-selling at that time. The novel strengthened the conflict between the northern and southern United States, which led to civil war. It also helped abolitionism spread in the 1850s. Again, the novel Uncle Tom's Cabin is one of Rizal's inspiration in writing the Noli Me Tangere. This is Emea Nicoline Katie Bacaro. Thank you and God bless.
Hello everyone, this is Barja Maria A. Asin. The topics that I'm going to report are the ideas and the disappointment of writing the Noli Me Tangere. So, Dr. Jose P. Rizal suggested with his friends in Europe through writing to have a regular reunion and planned for writing the novel in Madrid, Spain. At this moment, Rizal planned not to write the novel himself, but through collective efforts done by the other Filipinos who shared ideals with him. In January 2, 1884, in Madrid, Spain, Rizal with his friends including the Paterno brothers, which are Pedro, Maximo, and Antonio, with Graciano Lopez Jaina, Evaristo Aguirre, Eduardo Delete, Julio Lorento, Melesio Figueroa, and Valentin Ventura. They decided to meet at the Paterno's residence in Madrid, and each one of them agreed to write a unified novel, which is the one of the masterpiece of Dr. Jose Rizal entitled Noli Me Tangere. These are the ideas or the objectives of writing the Noli Me Tangere. First, to defend Filipinos people from foreign accusations of foolishness and lack of knowledge. Second, to show how the Filipino people lived during Spanish colonial period and the cries and woes of his countrymen against abusive officials. Third, to discuss what religion and belief can really do to everyday lives. And lastly, to expose the cruelties, graft, and corruption of the false government and honestly show the wrongdoings of Filipinos that led to further failure. The disappointment of writing the Noli Me Tangere. So suddenly, throughout the planning of writing the novel, there are disappointment happened. The plan to write about the Philippines was not realized, and there are possible reasons which Filipinos in Europe then were still too young to seriously do the work. They were not ready as a group to do this kind of endeavor, and lastly, most of them wanted to change the topic from Spanish abuse to somehow related to women. It comes out that Dr. Jose Rizal walked out of the hall and decided to write the novel himself, and he became disgusted to see his friends that instead of working seriously on the novel, they are wasting their time gambling or flirting with Spanish senoritas. So according to the book, only the first half of Noli Me Tangere was written in Madrid, while Dr. Jose P. Rizal was studying for medicine, and the second half is written on Germany. So that will be all. Thank you.
Writing and printing of the Noli Me Tangere of Rizal was not discouraged by the failure of his compatriots to accomplish the task. His determination to write a novel even grew stronger. Moreover, Pedro Paterno came up with his own writing Ninay. When Rizal was about to finish his studies at the Central University of Madrid, he started to write the Noli, then continued the work in Spain in the year 1884 and finished half of it. In Paris, France, in the year 1885, he began to work on the second half and finished the last chapters at Williamsfield, Germany, April to June 1886. Final revisions were made in Berlin in February of 1886. He finalized the manuscript and made it ready for printing on February 21, 1887. The printing was done on March 29, 1887 in 2,000 copies by Berliner Druckerei Action Gesellschaft Printing Press. In 1887, the first edition of Noli Me Tangere was published in Berlin, Germany. To express his gratitude, he gave the original manuscript plus the plume he used to Viola. Rizal also signed the first print and gave it to Viola with dedication. Viola is known as the best friend of Jose Rizal in Europe. They worked together, they visited museums, art gallery, restaurants, and stayed in hotels to work there in Europe. Prior to the printing, finding the printing press was not easy due to limited financing, sick and penniless. Rizal saw no hope of having the Noli published, so in that momentary fit of desperation, he almost hurled it into the flames. And years later, he told Fernando Canon, which is his childhood friend and a rival, he said that, "I did not believe that the Noli Me Tangere would ever be published when I was in Berlin. Broken-hearted, weakened and discouraged from hunger and deprivation, I was on the point of throwing my work into the fire as a thing accursed and fit only to die."
Noli Saved, printed. The publication history of Noli Me Tangere. Rizal finished the novel in February 1887. At first, Rizal was struggling and experienced financial constraints in getting his novel, Noli Me Tangere, published. He feared that his novel would remain unread and even considered destroying the manuscript of the book. He thought that it would be hard to pursue printing the novel. However, a friend of him named Maximo Viola has come to aid his financial needs and save Noli from drowning. Rizal was initially hesitant, but Viola insisted and ended up lending Rizal with ample funds of 300 pesos and financed the publication of the first 2,000 copies of the novel in Berlin. As Rizal's appreciation to the kindness of his friend, he gave the original manuscript of the novel, together with the pen he used to write, and a complimentary print on March 29, 1887. Rizal wrote an inscription which read, "To my dear friend, Maximo Viola, the first to read and appreciate my work, Jose Rizal." The printed Noli. Noli Me Tangere, a Latin phrase which means, "touch me not." It was admittedly taken by Rizal from Bible and Gospel of Saint Luke, but Zaide, 2008, noted that Rizal made a mistake as the Gospel signifying "do not touch me" was John chapter 20, verse 13 to 17. Rizal explains in the dedication of the work that there was once a sort of cancer horrible that the victim could not stand to be touched, and the disease was named Noli Me Tangere, that means "do not touch me." His homeland, he imagined, was also stricken for some reason. Truth about Noli. Almost all historians agree that the Noli Me Tangere is true. The novel's characters, events, and locations are accurate representation of the Philippines in the 19th century. Rizal said, "The facts I narrate there are all true and have happened. I can prove them." Moreover, Dr. Antonio Marregidor wrote to Rizal, "I frankly confess that I have not read anything more truthful nor more graphic, referring to the society as much culminated as it is afflicted." Chapter Elias and Salome was deleted due to economic reason. Originally, Noli Me Tangere has 64 pages. However, Rizal intended to remove the chapter from the whole novel, primarily because of financial measures. By reducing the pages of the manuscript, the cost of printing would correspondingly reduce. After all, the removed chapter, now referred as Chapter X, and was not included in any Noli publications.
So now let's proceed to the characters based on actual person. The first one is Maria Clara. Maria Clara is known to be Ibarra's lover since childhood in the story, and she represents Leonor Rivera among Rizal's long list of ex-lovers. Next one is Ibarra and Elias. Ibarra is the main character in the story, and Elias is the one who sacrificed his life for Ibarra so that he can continue pursuing their goal. These two represent Rizal himself. Next one is Piloso Patasio. He is an advisor for several individuals in San Diego. He represents Pasiano, oldest brother of Rizal. Next one is Padre Salve, a fraudulent friar in the story, and he also have desire for Maria Clara. For Rizalists, they believe that Padre Pierre Naveja, the hated Augustinian friar in Cavite, was the friar that Dr. Jose Rizal took inspiration for Padre Salve's character. Next one is Capitan Tiago, was an influential businessman in San Diego and the foster father of Maria Clara. In real life, he is Capitan Hilario Sunico of San Nicolas. He symbolizes those Filipino who oppress their countrymen. Next is Doña Victorina, wife of Don Tiburcio. She is a socialite and a friend of Capitan Tiago. She represents Doña Agustina Medel and symbolizes Filipinos who don't want to known as Indio. Next is Basilio and Crispin, the Crisostomo brothers of Hagonoy. According to what I've read, Sisa, the mother of Basilio and Crispin, represents our Inang Bayan, while Crispin and Basilio represents the innocents who are accused with the crime they did not commit. The last one is Padre Damaso, described to be a snobbish, ruthless, and judgmental extrovert in the story. He is also the biological father of Maria Clara. He represents the friars who are arrogant, injustice, cruel, and against Filipinos. So now let's proceed with the results anticipation with the Noli. As we know, Noli Me Tangere was all about the description of the Spanish colonization here in the Philippines and how the Spanish treated Filipinos badly. It was written there how the friars oppressed our women, abusing Filipinos through collecting excess taxes, calling us Indios, and many more. So, as what Rizal expected, as soon as the Spanish read his novel, they condemned it as heretical, impious, and scandalous in its religious aspect, subversive of public order, and harmful to the Spanish government. Even the circulation of its copies was prohibited, and they even said that whoever read it will commit a mortal sin. But fortunately, there are Filipinos who have read and awakened by this novel to the point that they defend and found every reason to justify its publication and circulation. So that's all for me. Thank you for listening.
Okay, at this juncture, we're going to talk about the praises to Nolly. You know, feedback is very important for a writer. It will help him improve his works as his readers point out its lapses and what part they love in his novels. As for Dr. Jose P. Rizal, his famous novel Noli Me Tangere received praises and compliments from his friends, particularly Ferdinand Blumentritt, wherein he expressed his greetings on how it was written with the blood of the heart, where it feels like the heart also speaks as they read the novel. Furthermore, he quoted that Rizal exceeded his hopes and considered himself lucky to befriend him. He also pointed out the brilliance of Rizal as he considered him one of those men who can influence the spiritual development of an individual. On the other hand, Dr. Antonio Maria Regidor, a Filipino patriot and a lawyer, compared Rizal's Noli Me Tangere to the novel of Miguel Cervantes entitled Quixote, wherein it immortalized the author for exposing the ailments of Spain to the world. Since Noli Me Tangere also has a context of unmasking the brutality and corruption of Spaniards during the Spanish colonial era in the Philippines. Regidor also stated that his novel will be regarded by every Filipino patriot who will read it as a masterpiece and a proof to prove those people who considered Filipinos as incapable of producing great intellects wrong of their thoughts. To add some information, Quixote was mentioned in the greeting of Regidor, and it was about the protagonist Alonso Quixano, a rich middle-aged man. Having read many tales about chivalry and knights, he went crazy and believes he is a knight named Don Quixote. With his squire, Sancho, he rode around the country and believed that he had done many adventures, which made people laugh at him. His story concluded with his return home badly hurt. Eventually, he became sane again and later died. And those were praises to Noli.
Naging usap-usapan sa Maynila ang magaganap na pagtitipon sa tahanan ni Don Santiago de los Santos, kilala sa tawag na Kapitan Tiago, noong mga huling araw ng Oktubre. Ito ay isang hapunan na dadaluhan ng mga kilalang tao. Makikita ang kanyang tahanan sa Daang Arlige, nakaratig ng Ilog Pasig. Dinaluhan ito ng isang binatang nag-aral sa Europa ng 7 taon. Siya si Crisostomo Ibarra, ang anak ni Don Rafael Ibarra. Kabilang sa mga dumalo ay sina Teniente Guevara, Doña Victorina, Padre Damaso, Padre Sibila, at iba pang mga kilalang tao. Sa hapunang iyon ay masasakit na salita laban sa ama ni Crisostomo ang kanyang narinig. Umalis na lamang siya sa pagtitipong iyon. Sa liwasan ng binundok, naabutan ni Teniente Guevara si Crisostomo. Dito ay inilihad ng Teniente ang sinapit ng ama ni Crisostomo na pinaratangang pilibustero at herehe. Dumalaw ang binatang si Crisostomo Ibarra kay Maria Clara, isang napakagandang dalaga na anak sa turing ni Kapitan Tiago. Sa azotea ay sinariwa ng dalawa ang mga alaala ng kanilang kamusmusan. Ipinakita ni Crisostomo Ibarra ang dahon ng sambong na alaala niya kay Maria Clara. At inilabas naman ni Maria Clara ang sulat ng binata bago ito umalis. Araw ng mga patay, hinanap ni Crisostomo Ibarra ang libingan ng kanyang ama, ngunit nalaman nito na ipinahukay ni Padre Damaso ang bangkay at inilipat sa libingan ng mga inchik. Ngunit ang ginawa ng supulterero ay itinapon na lamang ito sa lawa dahil sa bigat at napakalakas ng ulan noong gabing iyon. Nagalit si Crisostomo na halos panggigilan niya ang supultorero. Ipinagdamdam ng labis ni Crisostomo Ibarra ang sinapit ng kanyang ama. Sa halip na maghiganti ay ipinagpatuloy na lamang niya ang pagpapatayo ng paaralang pampubliko na proyekto ng kanyang ama. Sa araw ng paglalagay ng unang batong takaran ng ginagawang paaralan, ay may nagtangkang pumatay kay Crisostomo Ibarra. Mabuti na lamang at siya ay nailigtas ni Elias. Si Maria Clara ay nagkasakit dahil sa sindak sa gumuhong bato noong araw ng pagdiriwang. Mabuti na lamang at nagpadala ng gamot si Ibarra at ito ay gumaling. Isang salo-salo ang inihandog ni Crisostomo Ibarra matapos ang pagbabasbas. Ngunit sa halip na ipagpasalamat ni Padre Damaso ay kinutya-kutya at hinamak pa nito ang alaala ng ama ng binata. Sa pagkakataong iyon ay hindi na nakapagpigil si Crisostomo Ibarra. Muntik na niyang masaksak si Padre Damaso kung hindi lamang naawat ng dalagang si Maria Clara. Dahil sa mga pangyayaring iyon ay itiniwalag si Crisostomo Ibarra sa simbahang Katoliko Romano. At dahil dito ay ipinag-utos ni Padre Damaso kay Kapitan Tiago na putulin ang kasunduang ipakasal si Maria Clara kay Crisostomo Ibarra. Si Alfonso Linares, isang binatang Kastila ang napili ni Padre Damaso upang makaisang dibdib ni Maria Clara. Sa kabutihang palad ay tinulungan ng Kapitan General si Crisostomo upang mapawalang bisa ang pagka-eskomulgado nito. Nagkaroon ng masamang pangyayari kung saan sinalakay ng mga manghihimagsik ang kwartel ng mga Gwardiya Sibil at ang itinuturong utak ng paghihimagsik ay si Crisostomo Ibarra. Bunga nito ay ipinadakip si Crisostomo at ibinilanggo. Dinalaw ni Elias si Crisostomo sa bilangguan at hinimok nito na tunay na mamuno sa kanilang gagawing pag-aalsa, ngunit hindi ito pumayag. Ginamit ang sulat ni Crisostomo Ibarra kay Maria Clara bilang matibay na ebidensya upang madiin ito sa kasalanang hindi ginawa. Itinakas ni Elias si Crisostomo sa pagkakabilanggo. Ngunit bago sila lumayo ay kinausap muna niya si Maria Clara. Sa kanilang pag-uusap ay inamin ni Maria Clara na ipinagpalit niya ang sulat ni Ibarra sa dalawang liham ng inang si Doña Pia Alba. Sa liham na ito ay nalaman ni Maria Clara ang kanyang tunay na ama ay si Padre Damaso. Sinabi ng dalaga na pakakasal siya kay Linares upang maitago ang lihim ng ina, ngunit si Crisostomo ang kanyang tanging mamahalin. Pagkatapos makapag-usap ang magkasintahan ay tumakas sina Crisostomo at Elias sa mga tumutugis na Gwardiya Sibil. Iniutos ni Elias kay Crisostomo na dumapa sa bangka upang matabunan niya ito ng mga dayami at saka siya lulundag at magpapahabol sa mga tumutugis sa kanila. Pinaulanan agad ng punlo si Elias ng mga Gwardiya Sibil hanggang sa pumula ang tubig. Nang nabalitaan ni Maria Clara na namatay ang kasintahan, siya ay nawala na ng pag-asa. Hiniling niya kay Padre Damaso na magmongha na lamang siya at kung hindi papayagan ay magpapatiwakal ito. Sa pagtakas ni Elias sa mga humahabol na Gwardiya Sibil ay narating niya ang libingan ng mga Ibarra. Siya ay naghihingalo at sugatan dahil sa mga punlong tumama sa kanya. Sa libingang iyon ay nakita niya si Basilio na iniiyakan ng pamamatay na inang si Sisa. Tinawag ni Elias si Basilio. Sinabi ni Elias sa bata na sunugin ang kanyang bangkay kasama ang bangkay ng kanyang ina. Sinabi rin ni Elias na humukay sa gabi roon at may makikita siyang kayamanan. Gamitin niya ito at mag-aral. Bago malagutan ng hininga si Elias ay tumanaw ito sa silangan at nagwika, "Mamamatay akong hindi man lamang namasdan ng maningning na bukang liwayway sa aking inang bayan. Kayong makakikita, batiin ninyo siya at huwag kaliligtaan ang mga nalugmok sa dilim ng gabi." Paalam! Hanggang sa muli!